Ladies and gentlemen, there is a truth written in the script of your body, silent but sacred. It courses through your veins and speaks not in words, but in whispers of instinct, reaction, and inheritance. Your blood type doesn't lie, not because it dictates your destiny, but because it reflects the unseen architecture of your psyche. Beneath the surface of personality lies the ancient imprint of who you are meant to become. And this essence does not lie, it pulses with truth, it exposes the masks you wear, it remembers what the ego forgets. Let me offer you 5 truths, the 5 keynote, set not just in biology, but in the marrow of the soul. There is a hidden rhythm to your existence, one that predates your conscious mind. The traits that shape your behavior, your sensitivities, your preferences, and even your quiet refusals, none of these are arbitrary. They are not the result of mere randomness or social conditioning alone. They rise from something deeper, older, and infinitely more intricate. Your nature is not accidental. Within you lives a code, an invisible signature, shaped not only by your lineage and biology, but by the deeper architecture of the soul. Just as the earth carries the imprint of ancient tectonic movements, your psyche carries the residue of something primordial. What you are drawn to, what you instinctively withdraw from, what fills you with energy or drains you into silence, these are not mistakes, they are signs. Many people spend their lives trying to correct themselves into socially acceptable shapes, sanding down their edges, muting their instincts, apologizing for the way they are wired. But the truth is this: your original blueprint is sacred. It is not meant to be erased, but to be understood, interpreted, and expressed with integrity. You must resist the temptation to believe that you were born wrong and must be fixed to fit the mold. The mold is the illusion. The truth is found in your raw material, the wildness of your emotional terrain, the peculiar flavor of your thoughts, the strange dreams you never speak of, and the inner longings that seem out of place in a world of surface distractions. This nature within you is your myth. It is your personal legend, and every step you take that goes against it leads to fragmentation. Your depression, your anxiety, your unease often emerge when the ego strays too far from what the soul inherently knows to be true. To live well is not to become someone else. It is to become who you were always meant to be. But that journey begins with reverence. Reverence for your original temperament. Reverence for your instincts. Reverence for the quiet voice that never conforms, never shouts, but never stops whispering. Your nature is not an accident, it is a message. It is a sacred pattern waiting to be realized through conscious attention, disciplined refinement, and courageous embodiment. The more you listen to what has always been there, the more you come alive, and when you do, when you truly inhabit your own design, you become more than functional, you become unforgettable, because nothing is more rare, more magnetic, or more powerful than a person who is fully themselves. There is a side of you that you do not show, a darker, more ancient self that lingers behind your public identity. It watches from the corners of your behavior, emerges in moments of weakness, and slips into your dreams when your guard is down. This part of you is not evil, not shameful, and not broken. It is simply unaccepted, and it knows things about you that your conscious mind cannot yet bear to face. Your shadow knows your blood. What you push away, deny, or fear is not separate from you. It lives in the same body, pulses through the same veins, and shares the same internal memory as the self you present to the world. While you build your persona, your carefully curated mask, your shadow holds onto what the mask tries to erase. The truth of your instincts, your suppressed emotions, your unresolved wounds, and your forgotten power. This shadow is not random, it is deeply intimate with your essence. It remembers what your ancestors survived. It carries the burdens of shame, aggression, lust, envy, grief, and even brilliance, emotions and forces that your family, your culture, or even your childhood taught you to hide. But your shadow is not silent. It expresses itself when you least expect it, in sudden reactions, in irrational fears, in the people you judge, or the ones you're inexplicably drawn to. It is alive, alert, and constantly seeking integration. And so, it is no coincidence that your shadow expresses itself through your body, the tension in your jaw, the tightness in your chest, the spontaneous eruption of anger or desire, these are not flaws, they are messages. Your blood remembers what your mind forgets. The shame you carry may not even be yours. It may be ancestral, generational, passed down through silence, yet it moves through you as if it were born there. To confront your shadow is not to wage war on yourself, but to finally sit at the table with the parts of you you've exiled. You must become curious, not judgmental. You must become compassionate, but not indulgent. The work is not to destroy the shadow, but to understand what it protects. Often, beneath the darkness lies your truest potential, your untapped confidence, your creative fire, your intuitive clarity. It has been buried, distorted, or feared, but it has never disappeared. And so, you must ask yourself, what in me have I deemed unacceptable? What emotion, desire, or dream have I hidden for the sake of survival or approval? The answers to these questions are not found in books or advice. They are felt in the body, in the blood. They are found in the trembling before you speak your truth, in the anger you feel when someone crosses a boundary you never named, in the sorrow you carry for things you've never said aloud. Your blood is loyal, it never lies, it carries the imprint of your unspoken truth, and your shadow listens to it. The deeper you go into this terrain, the more whole you become, not perfect, but real. And in this wholeness lies power, the kind of power that does not control others but commands authenticity from within. To ignore the shadow is to live half a life. To face it is to awaken a kind of authority that cannot be faked. So lean into the discomfort, let the shadow speak, because it knows your story in ways you have never allowed yourself to hear. And when you finally listen, you will not be destroyed. You will be initiated. There are moments in life that defy logic, moments when you meet someone for the first time and feel as though you've known them forever. Other times you walk into a room and feel unsettled for no visible reason. You find yourself drawn to certain people, repelled by others, energized in one environment and strangely depleted in another. These moments are not accidents, they are signals. They are the quiet workings of resonance, and resonance is real. We are not isolated beings, cut off from the world and each other. We are energetic, emotional, and psychological fields, moving, colliding, and vibrating in and around one another. What science might call chemistry, the psyche knows as recognition. Deep down, your inner world knows when it is seen. It knows when it is misunderstood. It knows when it is in the presence of something that nourishes its growth or threatens its authenticity. Resonance is what happens when your interior frequency matches something in your outer world. It's not always comfortable. Sometimes the deepest resonance comes with challenge. You might be pulled towards someone not because they make you feel safe, but because they reflect a part of yourself you've tried to bury. That's resonance too. It isn't always soft, it isn't always beautiful, but it is always truthful. When you feel resonance with another person, it often transcends spoken language. There's a feeling of being seen without explanation. A silence between you holds more than any conversation could. This is not merely attraction or similarity. It is the recognition of a deeper pattern, an invisible alignment between who you are and what the other person awakens in you. Likewise, when you feel dissonance, when you feel your energy shrink, when your voice softens against your will, when you sense the subtle pressure to become someone else, this too is sacred information. It is not judgmental. It does not mean you or the other are flawed. It simply means your energies are not in rhythm. Your blood, your instincts, your emotional body all know this before your mind catches up. And the tragedy is, most people ignore these signals. They stay in places where their spirit shrinks. They tolerate relationships where they must constantly explain or defend their nature. They live lives surrounded by noise that drowns out the subtle but vital signals of the soul. But the truth remains, your resonance will never lie to you. It will always point you toward the spaces where you feel most alive, most present, most aligned. It will also warn you of the spaces where you are slowly unraveling. This resonance is not just about people. It includes ideas, environments, colors, music, work, silence. What pulls at your attention? What gives you a strange sense of peace? What stirs something ancient in you? These are not coincidences. They are reflections of your essence. They are mirrors held up to your inner architecture, affirming that your design is not random. To live in harmony with your resonance requires listening, not just hearing. It requires sensitivity, not sensitivity as weakness, but as sacred awareness. You must learn to trust the way your body feels around certain people. You must respect the sudden spark of inspiration, or the quiet dread you feel when walking a certain path. These are not moods, they are messages. They are the voice of your soul saying, yes, this is where you belong, or no, you are betraying yourself. When you begin to live according to this inner tuning, when you allow resonance to be your compass, you will lose some things. You will walk away from the convenient, the predictable, the socially acceptable, but you will gain something priceless, alignment, and in alignment there is clarity, there is strength, there is the quiet confidence of knowing you are not forcing anything, you are flowing with what is true. Resonance is real. It is not mystical or irrational. It is the most grounded kind of wisdom. It is how your inner world converses with the outer one. It is how your blood speaks without words. And once you begin to trust it, you will no longer chase what isn't meant for you. You will recognize that what resonates with your soul already belongs to you. There is a thread within you that has been pulling you forward since the beginning, long before you knew what to call it. It is not logic. It is not reason. It does not come with explanations, yet it feels more truthful than anything you've ever been told. This thread is instinct, and your path, though you may not yet see it clearly, is woven from it. Instinct is not primitive. That is a lie modernity tells to justify its obsession with control and predictability. In truth, instinct is ancient intelligence. It is the wisdom of generations stored not in your thoughts but in your body. It does not ask for evidence. It does not wait for permission. It moves like a silent current beneath your personality, responding to life with immediacy and precision. And when you listen to it, life begins to arrange itself in mysterious, almost miraculous ways. But instinct often makes no sense to the rational mind. It will tell you to leave a room without knowing why. It will urge you to trust someone who has not yet proven themselves, or to distance yourself from someone who has never wronged you. It may ask you to move to a new city, to pursue a path that seems unrealistic, or to say yes to something your intellect says no to. And yet later, often much later, the reason becomes clear. What felt irrational was actually essential. Your path is not a formula. It cannot be mapped by linear goals or forced timelines. It emerges as you walk it, and instinct is what guides your next step, not the whole staircase. The problem is, we have been conditioned to mistrust this inner compass. We are taught to analyze, to wait for proof, to be cautious, to second guess the very signals designed to keep us in alignment. We treat instinct like a wild animal, unpredictable and dangerous, but in reality, it is the most loyal guide you will ever have. Every time you ignored your instinct, something within you dimmed. You felt it. You said yes when your whole body whispered no. You stayed when something deeper urged you to go. You silenced the discomfort that rose in your chest, convinced yourself it was just anxiety, only to realize later that it was your truth trying to speak. That inner pull is not your enemy, it is your protector. It is the voice of your deepest intelligence. Instinct connects you not only to yourself, but to the greater web of life. It places you exactly where you need to be, often without your awareness. It draws people toward you who mirror your next lesson. It repels what is not aligned, even if your ego wants to hold on. It communicates through synchronicity, through dreams, through the gut feeling you can't explain. This is not superstition. This is alignment in motion. And when you begin to honor instinct as sacred, not as something to occasionally consult, but as something to consistently follow, you will notice a shift. The restlessness in your spirit begins to quiet. The overthinking starts to dissolve. You no longer need constant reassurance because something deeper is now leading. You move differently, not with haste but with certainty, not with perfection but with presence. Your true path does not require you to be someone else. It requires you to return to yourself, and that return is navigated by instinct. Not fear, not fantasy, not ego, but the raw, often inconvenient voice that rises from your core. You may not always like what it tells you. It may ask you to let go of people, jobs, ideas, or versions of yourself that you've grown attached to, but it will never lie. It will never lead you away from your soul. So trust it, even when it disrupts your plans, especially then. Because what you call disruption, your soul may call redirection. And every step you take in alignment with your instinct becomes part of the tapestry of your destiny. You may not see the full picture now, but when you look back, you'll see that nothing was random, the detours were sacred, the delays were preparation, the inner voice you almost silenced was the very thing trying to carry you home. You said, transformation is one of the most misunderstood experiences in the human journey. We are led to believe that to transform is to become someone entirely new, to shed our flaws, to erase our pain, to reinvent ourselves from nothing. But this idea is not only misleading, it is dangerous, because real transformation does not begin with rejection. It begins with radical, unflinching acceptance, not of who you wish to be, but of who you already are. There is a part of you, your original self, that existed before the world told you who to be, before shame entered the equation, before comparison, rejection, trauma, or the slow, quiet conditioning that taught you to shrink, to hide, to perform. That original self is not a fantasy, it is not an ideal, it is a living, breathing essence, buried perhaps but not broken. And true transformation can only occur when you return to that essence and say, I see you, I have not forgotten you. The ego seeks improvement. The soul seeks integration, and integration does not happen through control, punishment, or self-betrayal. It happens through the courageous act of facing yourself exactly as you are, without judgment, without embellishment, without illusion. This means confronting your wounds without glamorizing them, owning your rage without being consumed by it, admitting your envy, your fear, your exhaustion, and understanding that these are not enemies of growth, but invitations into wholeness. You cannot become your higher self by rejecting your lower self. You cannot access the light without walking through the corridors of your own darkness. The parts of you that you've been trying to fix are often the very parts that hold your deepest power. But they must be purified, not erased. They must be understood, not condemned. We live in a culture obsessed with the image of success, the appearance of progress, the performance of healing, but appearances are shallow. Real growth is invisible at first. It happens in the quiet moments when you stop running from yourself. It begins when you sit still long enough to hear what your inner voice has been trying to tell you for years. It begins when you realize that your sensitivity, your intensity, your chaos, your desires, they are not mistakes, they are messengers. And here's the paradox. The more you accept who you truly are, the more you naturally evolve. Because acceptance creates space. It allows the original self to breathe again, to stretch, to move, to rise. You don't have to force yourself to grow when you're rooted in self-acceptance. Growth becomes organic. Transformation becomes a response to truth, not a reaction to shame. Think of a tree. It does not become taller by hating its roots. It grows because it is anchored, nourished, and aligned with its own nature. You are no different. If you spend your life pretending to be someone else, you may succeed in looking evolved. But you will always feel lost. You will always feel like you're chasing something just out of reach, because you are. You're chasing yourself, so transformation is not a journey away from who you are. It is a return, a homecoming. It is the sacred work of peeling back the layers you've built for survival, and rediscovering the raw, unpolished soul underneath. It is the ability to look at your reflection, not the curated version, but the unfiltered one, and say, this is me, and I am worthy of becoming. You are not here to be perfect, you are here to be whole. And wholeness requires you to stop trying to be someone else and start honoring the design that was written into you from the beginning. When you do, transformation stops being a struggle, it becomes a revelation. It becomes a process of remembering, not reinventing, of embodying, not escaping. You were never meant to abandon your original self. You were meant to refine it, deepen it, and allow it to shine in its full, authentic power. That is transformation, and it begins the moment you stop running, and finally turn inward to reclaim what was always yours. So no, your blood type doesn't lie. It doesn't tell the whole story, but it tells a true story. One you must read not just with your eyes, but with your spirit. To know thyself is not a cliché, it is a sacred obligation. For only when you descend into the depths of your being can you rise with authenticity. And when you do, you will realize you are not here to be average. You are here to awaken what sleeps in your soul, and your blood has always known the way.